private company information. Good. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I'm Graham from Copilot Kit. I guess I'll get to that screen, but so this is our Friday, office hours and workshop. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through building how to build your first full stack agent. So some of you may have seen some of this before, but we think it's really important that people understand that agents don't need to just be background operators. That can actually be full stack applications, and it's a lot easier to build than you may think. And obviously, of course, that's because of Copilot Kit, but we'll show you how that works, and we'll show you how you can actually get started doing it. And you'll be able to actually use either LangGraph or CrewAI for this, and hopefully we'll be adding support for a lot more features soon. So let's go ahead and jump into building your first full stack agent. So first, who am I? I'm wearing the same hoodie that I'm wearing in this picture. I'm Graham. I'm the senior DevRel here at Copilot Kit. I've been doing developer relations for over 10 years. It's a really fun job. My very first job I was actually in a coding boot camp like 10 years ago. And while I was in that boot camp, I created this hackathon called domain name driven development, where we got this name.com to give us free domain names. You'd show up to this 2-hour hackathon and we'd release a domain, and you'd have to build something that you might find at that domain name. So one of them was like, lobster.ninja or something, and people built all these like really funny websites that you would find. And someone came up to me and said, this is a job, right? And I was like, oh, cool. So I really love doing this. I think it's fun to sort of interact. I get to meet people like you all who are building really cool things all the time. And then I get to share sort of new projects and new technology that helped you guys build. So a little bit about one of those technologies, Copilot Kit, is this really incredible, fast-growing product that is really fun for me to be a part of, because I get to see people building it to use to create all kinds of new, really cool things. And so we've got over 17,000 GitHub stars. It's probably more now. I think we just hit 18,000, weekly NPM installs, millions of Copilot Kit interactions on a regular basis. We've got top Silicon Valley companies, Fortune 500 companies, and thousands of startups and individual developers that are building using Copilot Kit. It's a really, really powerful tool. And our mission with it really is to bridge human and artificial intelligence. We think that the subset of problems that just an agent can solve and the subset of problems that just a human can solve pale in comparison to when you connect those two together. And when a human and agent work together, they can solve 10x the problems that are available, and really can accelerate humanity. So we're super excited to be able to provide this product to the world. I want to talk a little bit about where Copilot Kit sits in the stack. And so you can think about the AI agent application stack in the same way that you used to think of a traditional web application stack. So web applications, you had your database, your server, and your front end. So in agents and AI copilots, you've got your LLMs and your base models, you've got your agent frameworks, and then you've got your human agent interface. And that's where Copilot Kit lives, is we're really that place where the human and the agent work together. I like to think of it like, maybe an assembly line where you've got a robot that does one thing and then a human that does one thing, and a robot that does one thing and a human that does one thing. And so how do those two work together? You can also think of it like a human orchestrating a bunch of agents to go do a bunch of work. So we just saw a demo from one of our community members before this call that really showed that off in a really cool way. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to build a full stack agent. We're going to show off some of the features that are enabled by this. And then we're going to talk about some of the best practices for actually building an AI copilot. And then we'll jump over for Q&A. And if anybody has any questions, we can go ahead and answer them there. So let's get started and build a full stack agent. Before we do that, we're just going to talk about what you would need to do this. So the only things you're going to need for this demo, and this is available if you go to our documentation and then, hit co-agents and hit CrewAI Crews, you'll be able to see this exact tutorial. But all you're going to need is a CrewAI account. That's free. You're going to need a Copilot Kit account, a Copilot Kit Cloud account. That's free. And then you're going to need an OpenAI key that is paid. But I think there's a free version that you can use. So that's all you're going to need for today's demo. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to deploy an agent on CrewAI. I've actually already deployed the agent, but it's extremely easy, and I'll show you how to do that. The next thing you need to do is actually connect that agent to Copilot Kit Cloud. And that's also extremely easy to do. That's available through our CLI. And then you're just going to be able to, then you just need to build an agentic front end for our CrewAI agent. And so we deploy CrewAI in their cloud. We connect it to the Copilot Kit cloud. And then when you deploy the front end from Copilot Kit, it's automatically connected to our cloud. And so that automatically connects it to your CrewAI agent. And you can start to see how that would, that flow makes it extremely easy, right? You build your agents, you deploy them, you connect it to Copilot Kit, and then Copilot Kit is sort of the orchestration layer that allows your front-end application to talk to all of your agents and all of your backend stuff. Oh, that's the recap for when we're done here. So let's go ahead and let's switch out. I think my screen share is just showing my demo. So let's actually do my entire screen here. Good. All right. Okay, that looks good. Everybody can see that here. So here's the demo that we're looking at. So if you go to the Copilot Kit docs, I'll start from the beginning so you can see this. So when you're at the Copilot Kit docs, you just grab co-agents, and then you just hit CrewAI Cruise, and then that'll take you here to this main page, and then you just hit the quick start, right? No, somehow we're not in the right spot. Copilot Kit, close, cruise, CrewAI quick start. There we go. So we've got our quick start here, and then we're just going to do two things. So to get started, it says here you need your OpenAI key. We've already got that, and I've already added that CrewAI key to my Copilot Kit cloud. So over here on Copilot Kit cloud, you can see step one is to provide an OpenAI key. I've already done that. So you're just going to want to make sure that you have your OpenAI key added. And then step two is you're going to need to npm create next app. So that I've already done over here. So you can see we're in our Friday demo application. So has anybody used Next.js before? You can React, so it can help me understand. All right, Nathan's used it. Gino, love it. So everyone's used Next.js. It's great, super easy, super fast. So what's cool about this is I have done nothing to this. I just said, npx create next app latest, and then it just brings up that normal npm scaffolding here. We can even just look at it. So npm run dev, local host 3000. Cool. So we're just seeing we've got our basic Next.js app. So we'll go ahead and kill that. I don't know why, but I love canceling locally running processes. I don't know why that's so satisfying, but it is. All right. So we've got our Next.js application running. We've got Copilot Cloud running, and we've got our OpenAI key connected. But you can see here we don't have a remote endpoint. The remote endpoint is where we're going to connect Copilot Kit Cloud to CrewAI, and we need to get that up and running. But before we do that, we need to make sure we have a crew running. So let's check out CrewAI. CrewAI Enterprise. Yes, so I see the question about where we're going to share this code. We'll be happy to share that after this. It's super easy to get started. So on CrewAI, what you can do is you can actually just grab one of these templates. So these are all pre-built agents that CrewAI has built and are available to use in production. And so what I've done is I grabbed the where's the restaurant finder? I'm not sure, but I grabbed this restaurant finder app, and you can see it's got this thing here, the URL, and it's got the bearer token. We're going to need those to connect this crew to our Copilot Kit Cloud, because that's where that's running. So this URL here is that remote endpoint that Copilot Kit Cloud is asking for. So let's get back to our demo. Now that we know where our crew is, and now that we know that our Copilot Kit Cloud is ready to be connected to crew, let's go ahead and start that. So we're going to do this. We're just going to copy this next thing here, and we're going to do npx Copilot Kit latest init. And so this is a new CLI tool that we've developed. I'm going to close my sidebar. I don't need AI. All right. You need to install the following packages. Yes. All right. We're installing something. Okay. So now what we're going to do is choose our AI framework. Let me make sure. Nathan, looks like we got some questions if you want to go ahead and ask questions. So,
yep.
we built a Next.js. We created a new Next.js application, and then we've just done this Copilot Kit latest init. So this is our new CLI tool. So all it does is that actually brings Copilot Kit into our Next.js application. And then we've got we're choosing which AI framework we want to use. So first we're going to choose CrewAI, and then we're going to choose which type of CrewAI agent you want to use. And for this demo, we're going to be using CrewAI Crews. And then we're just going to say what would we like to name it. We'll just say yes, and we'll call it My Copilot Kit Crew. And now this is where we're going to need that information from CrewAI's website. So we're going to grab the URL here, and then we're going to hit paste and hit enter. And now we need this bearer token. So this is sort of like an API key, but it's just a token so that it makes sure that we actually are allowed to have access to it. It's so that nobody, if they saw this endpoint, could just start accessing it and charging a bill on our crew account. So now we've got our bearer token. We hit enter. Now I want to show you something that's kind of cool. So down here you see remote endpoints. We don't have any remote endpoint. If we created a Copilot Kit application, connected it to our Copilot Kit cloud instance, there would be no agent for it to talk to. So right now it's asking, hey, is this your project ID? So right now, what you want to do to check this project ID is you actually just want to check the URL. So this is HBRK, and then if you go to your Copilot Kit Cloud, HBRK, we're going to work on bringing that into the UI here so that it is a little bit cleaner. But that's how you check that. So I know that that is the right project. I've got my HBRK in the URL. And make sure I'm selected on my terminal and hit enter. And so now it's added the CrewAI to Copilot Kit Cloud. So let's double check that that's true. We're in our Copilot Kit dashboard here. I'm going to hit refresh, and then you can see now we have a endpoint added to our Copilot Kit Cloud dashboard. So now this front end can speak to Copilot Kit Cloud, and then Copilot Kit is going to manage that relationship with our CrewAI crew. So you can imagine if we had multiple agents, you could have all of those endpoints sitting here in your Copilot Kit Cloud instance, and then you just would be able to connect to all of those different agents. You don't have to manage that manually through the Copilot Kit runtime in your application. So let's go ahead. Yes, we want the JSON folder. Does anybody want to tell me which color you want to pick? So do we want neutral, gray, zinc, stone, slate? Anybody?
Stone,
gray.
for sure.
Nope, somebody said gray, and they're the guest, not you, Nathan. So
okay.
Too bad.
I'm cool with that. I like gray. That's all.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and install dependencies. Looks like, and you see we're using ShadCN in the background. Really great front end tool. Okay, cool. So now it looks like we've got this going, and you can see right here it tells us what our next steps are. So we just need to run npm run dev. And then this is going to spin this up. And then we've got our next React app here. And then we just have to go to /CopilotKit. And this is definitely going to work. No. Cool. So there we go. So now you can see we're using this restaurant finder crew. And it actually needs a location. So does anybody want to give me a location where we can look for restaurants?
Miami.
Dubai.
Other than Nathan? Dubai? Yeah, Dubai. Let's do Dubai first. So we'll hit submit. And then a few things I want to talk about here in this demo. So no activity yet, but you're going to start to be able to see, there we go. So now it's using Serper, which is a framework, and it's looking up different things. This is sort of a rough approximation of, this is just sort of showing the raw inputs that you're getting from the crew as it's coming back. What we're going to do after this is I'll show you a lot of the features that Copilot Kit has that allow you to make more natural, more integrated surfacing of this data, so that the application can feel a lot more interesting and cool. So so it's still, now it's doing its search restaurants task. And so what's happening, let's actually look at this crew. So this is how this agent works. So first it does restaurant research, then it does recommendations, And then it says based on the response of the user, then it'll actually finally make recommendations. And then it has a little output here. All right, so here's that. You can see here we've got our third, based on the user's input. So now let's go ahead and give it the input.
I also wanted to throw out there that because it's still doing its, I guess it finished, but similar to LangGraph, where LangGraph has nodes and it goes through the steps, that's Crew has its own system, but it's similar to that. Like, yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I was showing off here, is that we've got these are sort of, you could think of these as nodes, and I should probably know how to describe them in Crew parlance. But so now we've sort of gotten a human in the loop section here where it asks for approval from the user. Now it's going off and performing more search tasks. And so while that's working, let's actually go ahead and look at the feature viewer that we have. This is our Copilot Kit interactive demo viewer. So this is something, it's linked to from the docs. This is something that's really powerful when you're, I know a lot of you may be sort of out there doing a proof of concept research for your company. A lot of times people are saying like, hey, what's our agent strategy, right? And you have to be able to show off what it's going to look like. This is a really great way for you to get that first piece of buy-in, even just for yourself. Thanks for linking that, Nathan. And so what this does is go through all of our different features. So we just had a human in the loop thing. So make me a checklist of restaurants in Dubai. And so you can see here, this is a checklist human in the loop type function. So the agent that's behind this isn't really doing a whole lot, so that's why it's so much faster. But you can actually just select different features here, and this is a really common way that people do human in the loop interactions. And so this is just to show off that flow we saw in the demo over here. This is sort of like a raw feedback here. But with Copilot Kit, we provide this tooling so that you can actually make these really high quality interactions here. So this sort of human in the loop checklist type flow is really valuable. Another thing I wanted to show off is that we've got agentic generative UI. So agentic generative UI, oh no. See if it does it. There we go. So what you can see here is that we're actually getting streamed back the work that the agent is doing in real time. And so what's really cool about this is one thing I like to sort of use as an example is that there was a building that was needing to do like a multi-million-dollar elevator refit, and they had a UI design because the elevators were slow, and they had a UI designer come in and say, actually, you could just put mirrors in the elevator bays, and then people will be distracted by looking at themselves, and they won't think about how long the elevator takes. And so that's one way to think about agentic generative UIs, that you can build these really nice and rich components so that users can see what the agent's doing in real time, so they can feel like something's happening, and they can feel trust that the agent is actually going out and taking work, and not that it's hanging out there in the ether. Another tool we offer, which is really cool, is this tool-based generative UI. The way to think about this is that, here we go, making this a little bit smaller so that it's easier to see. Right. Q, there we go. Everything's about Dubai today. And so this agent in the background has a tool that's a haiku writer. And so we've asked the agent, it calls that tool, and then that tool generates UI based on that. So this is a haiku that was generated by a tool, not by the agent itself. And then we've built this, haiku UI component that the tool and the agent can actually use to surface information to the user. And so we can both surface it to the user inside of the chat, and then once we click apply, we can actually surface that information to the application itself. So the way that this demo viewer works is that the right here represents the chat, the center represents the actual application state. This is another thing that's really interesting when you're building an application so that the user and the agent are working on behalf of each other, or working next to each other. You want to make sure that the agent and the user have shared state and like both understand what's happening inside the application. So let's say we want an advanced meal that's high protein and is a one-pot meal. And the ingredients I have are chicken breast, broccoli, and rice. And I can't spell broccoli. There we go. Beauty. Cook it. Okay, so this is clearly not a very good recipe, right? If you gave somebody the recipe that said chicken breast, broccoli, blah, 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 blah. So now I can say improve it with AI. And what's going to happen is that the agent has access to the state of this application and it understands what I want. And so it can actually take that as state or as context and then go take an action on behalf of it. And so now you can see it sort of fleshed out this recipe a lot more. So this is actually something that you could go ahead and cook now. And that's because there's shared state between the user and the agent. What's funny is we write, I told a joke before we started recording about penguins, and we're going to talk about penguins here. So we're going to, what predictive state updates do is, if any of you have used Notion and you've seen the part where you ask AI to do something in Notion and it'll sort of show you a bunch of text that it wants to save to the application, and then it asks you to accept that. That's basically predictive state updates. What's happening is the agent is saying, I think this is going to be the end state of the application, but I need the user to approve it. And so that's the same sort of thing that can happen here, where you can start to render the possible state based on what the agent does. And you can start to imagine different applications for that. Maybe that could be different data visualizations, where you could say you've visualized the data in a certain way, and then you say to the agent, well, what if we thought about this parameter? And it could show you that possible solution and that possible different way to analyze it. Like, let's not use a pie graph, let's use a bar chart. And it could show you the bar chart. And then before you actually accept it and save that state to the application, making it the actual state, it could show you the predicted state, what it might be if you used a bar chart. This is an incredibly powerful tool. So what are some facts about penguins that you want to research? You want to write about? They don't pay tariffs. They mate for life. And they don't fly. Oh, they don't code. That's right. All right. Can you help me flush out this article? So you could say, could you clarify the information sections you'd like to add or expand upon about this article about penguins? So it can tell that it's an article about penguins that's using our shared state. No, just use what I've added and go for it. All right. So now what you're seeing is the text that's highlighted in green. This is the predicted state. So like the agent is pretty sure that this is what the user is going to want the end state of the application to be, but it's going to go ahead and predict that state, and then we can just confirm it, and now we've got this here. Penguins are not subject to human economic policies. Okay, great. Now we can say take out the stuff. Yeah, it looks like Copilot and VS Code. That's a really great point. So this allows you to build a Copilot, hence the name of the company, into any application. So now you've got a writing Copilot, or if you wanted to build this for law firms, you would have a legal Copilot, etc. So this is really what the point of this is. About tariffs. Take out the stuff about tariffs. Boom. So now we have an actual interesting thing here. So that's how this works. It's these features are really easy to use. Another cool thing about this demo viewer is that you can actually look at the code for this. So we've got our agent here, and then we actually have the how you implement Copilot Kit inside your application. And you can see it's pretty easy. You just import Copilot Kit here, import the sidebar, and then you just wrap your application in the Copilot hook, and then it starts to be able to have all this context about your application, so you can use the state of your application as additional context for the agent, which is pretty cool. So that is really the high level here. So let's go ahead and talk about what we did. So first of all, we deployed an agent on CrewAI, and so then we had access to it. We got the URL and the bearer token. We took those tokens and we connected them to the Copilot Kit cloud using the Copilot Kit CLI tool. And then we built an agentic front end using with our CrewAI agent, so that you were able to interface with that agent through an application. And you're able to build that cursor for any domain using Copilot Kit. So we talked through some of these features already. I just want to share a few little best practices. So one thing that you want to think about when you're building these is you need a headless UI for a native experience. And so we offer the sort of Copilot Kit sidebar and the Copilot Kit chat element and all of that, which is it's super valuable and helpful if you want to get up and running. But we also have all of those features available in a headless format so that you can build this natively inside your application. You can think about, one way I like to think about this is Notion, how they have that you select with AI, and then it brings up a little chat bar and you can type something to the agent and hit Ask AI. You could build that using our headless AI. And I think that's a really powerful sort of design tool. One thing that's probably important to do is to just you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. Look at what, best-in-class products are doing, and then you can implement that using Copilot Kit, which is really cool. Our agentic generative UI components, this is something where you want to be able to let the agent surface information to the user in a way that feels native to your application. So if you're building a weather app and someone says, what's the weather going to be in, Dubai next Thursday, you don't want it to just respond with text. You want to build it a rich weather component that the agent can fill with the data that it gets and surface that to the user so that the user feels like this is a weather application. Another thing that's important is, you saw that we connected our CrewAI agent to a Copilot Kit cloud. So Copilot Kit has sort of this idea of router mode using Copilot Kit cloud. A lot of times, really complicated agentic applications need a manager. So you send a query, the user sends a query, and then that manager agent sends, redirects where that query needs to go. With Copilot Kit Cloud, you can actually, define what these agents are, and Copilot Kit Cloud can do a really good job of making that decision of where those queries need to go, which saves you an LLM call, because these applications you build are going to scale and have millions of users, and you don't want to be sending needless LLM calls. So we're trying to save you some of that. Another important thing is human in the loop, which is a super valuable way to connect people with agents and make them feel like they're working alongside of each other. If you have any questions, we've got our docs here, Copilot Kit, docs.copilotkit.ai. You can sign up for free on our cloud.copilotkit.ai, and then you can check out our starter repos in our main mono repo. If you just go to examples, it's got all the demos that you can see here. You can always email me, Graham at CopilotKit. I'm always happy to answer questions. You can also jump in our Discord and talk to Nathan, who is the most prolific person I've ever seen in my life. I think he might actually be an agent wearing human clothing because he is so responsive. But
yes,
so
I am an agent.
Cool. So let's go ahead and jump to QA. I want to make sure to answer some questions. I'll start presenting here, and I can also stop recording so that you all can feel comfortable if you want to ask questions and know that it's not going to be part of the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting, and then I will stop recording. Actually, let me use this for the so thank you all for joining us. I'm not actually ending this. I just need this for editing. So, but thanks. I hope you all enjoyed that demo, and now let's jump to QA.